Okay, show's recording. Looks like we're on. Hello, I am Elrock617 here with a speedrun submission video for the arcade title The Punisher, recently released for home use on the Marvel vs. Capcom collection. More well known for having 6 fighting games to its name, which are, not the most speedrun friendly speedruns, but it also has 1/7 game that a lot of people overlooked, and that is The Punisher, which was actually the first Marvel and Capcom collaboration. A lot of people don't know that. It's become one of my favorite beat-em-ups over the past, I think I first learned the 1cc for it back in 2020. And just earlier this year, upon returning home from SGDQ 2024, I decided to take it upon myself to learn the speedrun because I wanted to cut the time down. My original 1cc was something like just under sub 40 or so, like a 39, 36 or whatever. And I've since dropped that down to about the low 20 range, and it's looking like a lot more clean run. Not only that, I've actually gotten reasonably proficient with both characters. I think the other character being Nick Fury. I want to say my PB separation between the two is, I think it's less than 10 seconds, both of which are sub 2030. So this video I have here was actually recorded offline last night, and the exciting part is that, to offer a spoiler, it's actually a PB. Go ahead and hit the play button there. We'll talk about the game a little bit as we go through. Now, one thing I do want to acknowledge, my primary source of wanting to play this game is going to be on original hardware. I actually have the PCB for this game to play through a Super Gun. But as need be, we will, actually, let me do one thing real quick. Bear with me. I had to make some adjustments to my timer. Okay, that's really strange. Don't you love it when OBS sources just act weird for no reason? All right, we're gonna go ahead and just nuke that. Apologies for the awkwardness. Okay, drag this back down here. I had my splits open and didn't want this to record over my splits. So, go ahead and hit play. So, as you can see, I'll at least talk about this a little bit. So, at least you can see here from the menu, you have the full range of games. Very similar to the Capcom Beat 'em Up collection released back in 2018-ish, only this one's licensed. Punisher, being a game released in 1993, was akin to, in terms of aesthetic, akin to games like Final Fight, King of Dragons, games like that have been released around that time. So I'm going to start timer in time with the game. In this game, as soon as you hit start, you actually get to pick your character. Player 1's always assigned to Punisher. First stage is pretty short. Waltz over this way, hit these guys, drop a grenade. Grenade's very useful for going fast, turns out. Got the scan lines here for the retro look. Run jump kick is one of our best form move, and I did not want to land on that guy, but like I said, the rest of the run ended up being really good, so minor mistakes. Okay, grenade drop there, very essential. You want to catch those 3 guys in particular. Next, we're going to grab the knife. For our first boss, Scully, we actually have a really cool quick kill setup that can utilize the knife, but it's not the most consistent. See, there I threw it when I wanted to go for a slash, and that's distance specific. And if he blocked it, making matters even worse. Thankfully, the actual strat to close out with is still really good. You do the Punisher foot sweep there, which is your Super Joy, aka both buttons at the same time. And when you do that, you actually get 2 hits on Scully rather than just 1. So anyway, as I was mentioning, this collection will be my backup selection for being able to play this game. I don't mean as a backup run. I mean that the intent is to run the game on original hardware, but I'll have this version available as a backup option should something go wrong. Or if HD is preferred, we can just do that too. And Leon, the knife guys are kind of awkward in terms of their movement. Here it's going to be just kind of about just setting up enemies and making sure you clip them. She got away. Sometimes Mizuki there will teleport right out of her spawn point, which is kind of annoying. It's another gun segment. I didn't talk much about gun segments. In this game, when certain enemies spawn on the screen, Punisher will Punisher, or in some cases Nick Fury, will pull out his gun, and he actually gets to use the gun as opposed to having to just punch enemies, which is pretty strong. You get to play zoning. You still do really good damage as long as your mashing is good. These guys mess with you a little bit. But still kept the run because you had a good boss fight here. Grab the flamethrower. So here we have the guard droid. Captured from Dr. Doom. Do a jump kick. Grenade. Another jump kick with flamethrowers. Dash jump kick, very important. It does way more damage, especially on bosses like this guy, than just an average jump kick. Really good fight. That's about as optimal as you can get out of it. I'll move us on to stage 3. So at this point in the narrative, we know that the Kingpin is behind all these crimes, and we have to chase him down to Florida from New York. Meant that to be a dash. So you also see, in terms of movement, I mentioned before about the dash jump kick. Roll is what actually gets us there. Pressing the direction twice in any direction, even up, up, or down, down, lets us do a roll that gives us incredible movement. Gives us really good defense. Not against everything, per se. Gus here wasn't very cooperative. Some enemies can't hit you out of roll, which, unfortunate, but just got to know which ones are going to be bothering you, which ones aren't. A little slow there on the enemy counts, but that's okay. Back to our gun. I'm going to spawn this car. And doing that special roundhouse there, which actually is a command input, down up attack, causes the car to explode, and it forces one less enemy to show up. So essentially it's a free despawn as long as you're able to execute it correctly. Some more gunplay. Stage 3 is the first, what I would call, hard stage of the game. The actual stage itself is not too terrible. Golly here was not the most cooperative, sadly. He unfortunately can just go down in 2 hits sometimes, which can drain time. Not unsafe or anything, but we got our M16. New enemy here, we've got the Pretty Boys. Pretty Boys are also gun enemies. Drop food when you kill them, which is nice. They can't attack you unless you line up directly with them, so as long as you're off their axis, they can't hit you. Onto our balcony. So the key here is that axe that enemy up there has, we want to make sure we have that to the boss. I did not want to pick that up. Accidental item grabs in this game are very common. Usually not enough to be debilitating, but they can cost like a smidgen of time. Yeah, I didn't want to get hit by that guy. Knife guys are very slippery. Stuff that seems like it should be hitting everything in its path, sometimes it just misses them. I don't know if they just have smaller hurt boxes or what. So the idea here is I want to make sure I end up with the axe last, and there's a lot of items over them. Took out the lamp. And onto Bonebreaker. The first part of this fight is very well sequenced. We're going to hit him with the axe. Axe is our best melee weapon here because it does the most damage. We throw it, pick it up, hit him again, and then he can teleport either the top or the bottom. Bottom is, in my opinion, optimal. It may not truly be optimal, I'm not sure, but it's worked best for me, that's for sure. Drop a grenade to clear those guys out. Those guys can be a real pain if they line up with you fast enough. That was invincible. I tried to line up with my shot, and he got away. This is still actually a really good fight, believe it or not, just because of the amount of damage we're doing. Axe just does a ridiculous amount of damage to him. I was hoping he'd teleport back in for the sweep, and just didn't, but still, finished him off. That fight can go a number of ways incorrectly. If you get hit by too many shots, or if Pretty Boys are able to line up with you with all kinds of bad stuff, then things can go pretty south. But we had enough grenades to be able to plow our way through that. This is a bonus stage. We don't kill anything because it adds frames at the end, so this is just donation time. You can shoot as many as 20 of these barrels. Each one gives you a point, and at the end it just counts down everything, so just save the frames. No reason not to. Score does matter in this game, and I'll explain why at the end of stage 4, because that's the only instance where it actually matters. Speaking of stage 4, this is one of the first gates of the game. The stage itself really requires a lot of things to go right to optimize time saves. Not to optimize 1cc strats, you can do those anyway. Did not want to pick that up. I was trying to set it to where I could just be right beside it. I did want to spawn that melee weapon though. We've got our hammer. So here's how things get sequenced from here. I love this track, by the way. This game has such good music. We're gonna line up here, take out these duds as they come out of the door. Grab a weapon. We have to destroy that bag, because if we don't, this enemy that drops from the ceiling lands on the bag, and he is incredibly hard to get away from it. Got really good cooperation here, lining these guys up against the wall. Yeah, took a hit there. That happens. Okay, one of the good axe. That's the really good axe. We need that for the next segment. Okay, just set that up. Doing that just so I can get some free health. Okay, take the axe to the next segment. Drop it there on that to clear that out of the way. Generally, it's supposed to hit the guy on the left as well, but it's a minor miss. So now we got the knife guys spawned. We're going to drop this grenade. Let those guys lick their wounds. There's the knife combo I was looking for before. A little bit harder to set up with Punisher than it is with Nick, but it's still very strong. Get a bit of it here, too, on this guy. That's why I use the knife. As you can tell, melee weapons in this game are quite strong. Some have properties that you're not really looking for. Sword actually has some difficulty in that it does good damage, but it causes knockdown on every enemy that it hits that's not a boss, which isn't great, because that can cost time. But if you can get the damage out and clear out some crowds, you're probably okay. We need the knife here, because we're going to take Gus. We're going to throw him over there. Yeah, I was trying to make sure I got a knife combo there, but picked him up by mistake. Get these jerks against the wall. If you can't do knife strats here, just go for roundhouse and you'll probably do okay. That's what I'm tending to go for. Disappointed that one missed, but we'll take this knife. Spawn the food. That food is guaranteed. And then we have our boss, the Bushwhacker. Roll in for a knife combo. Try to do that jump kick to keep him pinned in the corner. It usually works, but this time I just threw him out. Grenade's very good. He likes to jump a lot. Grenade's anti-air as long as he's directly over the blast. So I did a little bit something different with this one. I wanted to make sure I could get as many knife hits as I can, because most, outside of knife combo specifically, most of the strongest hits you can get on Bushwhacker involve spending health, i.e. the foot sweep, or resources like grenades, but you have to have those. Use that there to make him stop using his missile launcher. Grab another knife. Yeah, so the Leon's also one of those enemies that can just hit you out of a roll. I have one grenade left. Clear the skies. Trying to go for one last one, but just wasn't having it. The backup option once we get this far is I'm going to try and go for a knife, but once I realized he was low enough, I just did 2 sweeps and he just gets hit twice into one and you're usually good to go. So not the fastest fight, but it's a safe one. You heard Punisher claim I did it there. That's actually an extend. The reason score matters is because once you reach 1.8 million points, you actually get an extra life. You don't need it at any point prior to that. In most instances, usually, like, if you've already taken a death by then, 1 death is fine, 2 deaths, obviously, it's over, but for the speed run, you shouldn't be worried about a death until maybe around, like, the stage 4 boss fight. And even then, if that happens, you're just getting your life back right away from there. On to stage 5, we open up with a couple gun segments. Still don't know how that missed that guy. that was rude. By the way, this was actually a gold split when I went back and retimed the run later. The stage ended up being a lot better than I would have hoped. More weapon play. To go a little bit further into melee weapons, Axe is the most useful melee weapon in most situations just because of the amount of damage it does, and you get 8 uses out of it, which is pretty good. I think only Pipe has more uses, and you get 10 of those, but downside is Pipe's not very good. It does do very good damage. I've used it. There are some situations where you just absolutely want to have a melee weapon and it does the job, but it's certainly not good or anything. Last couple enemies here. Didn't get a lot of cooperation on the weapons. You really don't want flamethrower outside of like boss-specific strats. So we have another axe. Axe is actually, this is actually one of the few segments where it's not the best weapon. I'm gonna grab this Gus, throw him to the wall. Giant Swing is a super joy that you do at a grab. It's very invincible, has great crowd control. It's going to push them to the wall. We just take care of them from there. Grab that grenade. Toss the axe. I don't know how I missed that grenade the first time, but we got another Pretty Boy segment. This one's actually going to be a little bit more grenade heavy than what we've seen before. We'll make sure I can remove his head first. Drop that one. I didn't mean to pick that up, but it looked funny, so whatever, right? Nice rocket punch there. Too busy shooting your comrades. Yeah, I didn't want that to happen either. I think I dropped one more grenade here. Yeah, that sounds about right. And from here, I just want to collect health ups and carry a melee weapon to the next room. Going with hammer over axe, even though it does less damage, because axe only had, I think, 2 uses at that point. And quantity of use is very important. Hammer's still decent. It's bad in some segments. Like, it's not good against Bonebreaker, but then again, only 2 weapons are good against Bonebreaker, those being axe and sword. I'm surprised I stayed as much time as I did getting weird stuff like that to happen. Gonna catch this guy coming out of the woods. There's our full knife combo. Grab this one. Wanted to go for it on him, but he decided to jump. I thought I had him or faster than that, but we'll go back in for another one. Supposed to be a roundhouse for more damage, but that's okay. Okay, finish him off. I'm gonna take a knife to the next segment because it's, even though it's supposed to be for gun enemies, using a knife as they come out of that hole is actually pretty strong. As you can see, just pure stun lock, really good damage. Keeps him in place. From here you can play pretty safe by just making sure you stay that far away. Gun does have some issues. Causing knockdown after a certain number of hits is somewhat detrimental to speed at times, but it's still really strong. It's very rarely not your best option. The one exception is against Bonebreaker, where gun is awful. So I'm trying to go for a triple kill here with 2 grenades. Red one didn't cooperate, unfortunately. Sometimes they'll all just end up back in the same spot and just be able to finish them off right away. Key, though, I do not want to break up that barrel. I want to be able to take that with me to the next segment, which is our boss fight. Here we have the Guardroid 2. Much harder than the first Guardroid fight. Also a gunfight most of the time. I want to make sure those 2 idiots stay alive. And get the gun hits on him. Everything Guardroid hits you with, the jump kick, the forward kick, the arm thrust, lots of damage. So I'm trying to avoid getting hit by him as much as I can. But having the extra health helps for, even outside of obvious reasons. Super Joy is actually really good in this fight when you can utilize it. Because sometimes you just need to be able to be invincible. He's going to jump on top of you. It also has an earthquake effect like that. It has an earthquake effect similar to Guts Man from Mega Man 1. So there I was just getting what damage I could. I wanted to make sure I could get in as many of those out before I grabbed the health. Grabbed a little bit preliminarily there, but that's okay. Grenades are also really good here, but I ended up using it because I was just getting too much reasonable response time out of the gunplay. But then when he tried to jump away, I just finished him off from there with the last one that I had. Good fight, all in all. If he hits you a few good times and you didn't bring the health item with you, that fight can turn really scary really quickly. But thankfully, there are ways to play it safe. And on to our last stage. This is going to be, I wouldn't say the bulk of the gameplay, but it is by far the longest stage. We're on to Kingpin's Tower. Gonna try and confront him. First room full of gun enemies. That Klosky there, the guy in the blue coat, is by far the most annoying. In fact, I stagger these shots here to ensure I don't knock him down. Just like that. So a couple of interesting sequences here. There's a guy coming from the left there that drops grenades. I want to make sure I can get 2 of those to drop before I move. His fell out before I could get there, get where I needed to be. But I got 3 more grenades there. This is a very grenade-heavy stage. In fact, there's one at that barrel at the top of the screen there. But we don't need that one just yet. Use that sweep there because I want to spawn that grenade that comes from there from the right. And here I wanted this knife. Didn't get all the damage I wanted there, but quite alright. Knives are generally pretty important here. Still a bit too close not get hit by Yan Li there, that flying kick. I was trying to roll there. If you grab an enemy and you roll, it actually cancels the grab, which is exactly what I wanted. I was trying to get away so I could go get this grenade and start doing more damage and all that good stuff. Okay, with this guy, I think... Yeah, just finish him off with knife combo. Okay, on to our next segment. Spawn the food. Grab the enemy. Drop the grenade. One got away. The ninja enemies are pretty dangerous, particularly the one in the black clothing. She, I think she's by far the most teleport happy, which means she can just dodge your attacks. And teleport's invincible from, like, the very first frame where it's active, and they can do it on startup. I think I mentioned something about that back in stage 2. Anyway, quick gun segment aside. Here we have a mini-boss. It's a refight with Scully, who is now wearing a different colored coat. Guess he went to the thrift store or something. Trying to keep him pinned against the wall with his lance. And yes, that is a Ghosts and Goblins lance. That was put there intentionally by Capcom. Okay, luckily Scully jumped back in with that grenade. He kind of got out of hand there a little bit. I'm trying to keep him against the wall the whole time, but he didn't quite behave there. Roll out of that way. And these enemies here are the most... is the final gauntlet before we head on to the next segment. Fairly tough segment, all in all. The flamethrower guy in particular is just a nightmare because they're programmed to have perfect spacing. So, and look at these these knife guys with their rolls, I swear. They're pretty special. They can just do all kinds of stuff that's... Whew. It's just like, it feels like it's super hard to keep track of sometimes. So onto our elevator, because it's a beat 'em up. So what we're waiting for here is it's gonna be a gun segment like it is now, but it's also another midi boss fight. We're waiting for a character named Jigsaw, and this is actually his only appearance, which for those who follow Marvel Comics, I personally find that kind of strange because Jigsaw is a pretty big enemy in Punisher lore. Like, he's one of his worst. Like the Sabretooth is Wolverine and everything. Yeah, knife guy got through. Kicked them and put him down. This was not my best Jigsaw fight, but I can at least show like an idea of what I'm trying to do. Grab axe. Move off axis. Let him come down. Swing as he gets into the Z axis. And that was a little bit too close there. I needed to be a little bit further apart. But unfortunately, Dynamite makes that kind of challenging at times. Knife for the pin. I'll move us on to end our elevator. Just as the Dynamite explodes, which doesn't seem to phase Punisher at all. Okay, so for this first segment of this engine room, I want to make sure the cat there, the cat is the flamethrower guy. I want to make sure he spawns first. If I push too far to the right, he spawns from the left, and that actually makes it a lot more challenging. Break these barrels, grab an axe, grab some health, toss the axe. That actually does cost the use of the axe, but I want to make sure it's down because I want to make sure I can use the gun. Things to keep track of here. The three enemies on the right are not normally enemies you're able to fight with a gun, but we'll take advantage while we can. And then when the cat comes in, I want to make sure he gets over there. Drop a grenade. I'm going to grab the axe and go over these knife guys. This segment right here is arguably the hardest in the game. It was invaluable to learn that you want to take gun here, because you can just stay behind and just kill those pretty boys first if you want, but it's actually, I think, much more beneficial to make sure you have gun here. I thought I took care of that guy. Enemies in this game be slippery. Okay, so I meant to grab that, but I got a little bit too trigger happy there, but that's okay. So our last segment of enemies, this is going to be the hit squad of the game. That's actually not common for me to be able to get all those enemies in one grenade blast. That felt very lucky. We've got a Gus and 4 ninjas who are not here to play around at all. They make things very difficult. If you can pin them all against the wall, you're obviously great to go, but that does take some work. Took the health because I didn't think I'd have a chance to get it again. Didn't want that roundhouse. I was just trying to hit him, make sure I got out of there. But in any case, finished off from there. That'll take us to our final boss, the Kingpin. Massive sprite on this guy. Kind of intimidating, really. There's a really cool safe strat here that you can use that involves chain grabbing him to death. But the actual faster strat is just to use all your grenades and then do the double hit sweep trick at the wall, like you saw on the stage 1 boss, the stage 4 boss. It doesn't always hit twice on Kingpin. Kingpin's kind of... his hurt box is kind of wonky. The best way to get hits on him, 2 hits on him, is to make sure that you're hitting other enemies at the same time. Took an intentional death there. This refills my grenade count. Now I have 4 of them. Put them against the wall. Drop those. Got 1 more. Back to sweeps. And that's time. 2019. My PB prior to this, I believe, was a 2047. This was a cool run to get offline. I didn't anticipate it for a while. I was just doing just 1cc attempts and didn't know that certain speed strats had picked back up. I think I'll be going for sub 20 in the meantime, but in any case, with this being released on the Marvel Fighting Collection earlier this month and for physical release later this year in November, I figured this was a great time to get it checked and looked at for upcoming marathon seasons. It's an awesome game. In my opinion, this is probably the best Marvel beat 'em up, and I've played them all. Spider-Man Arcade, X-Men Arcade, Captain America and the Avengers, Maximum Carnage. This is by far my favorite. It has everything going for it in terms of presentation. The combat's really well done. It has cool speed strats that involve both boss quick kills, enemy grouping, like everything you want in a fast beat 'em up run. This game's got it. Plus it has this awesome ending with this awesome music. It's got so much going for it. And of course the fact that it's on the Marvel Collection now means that essentially anybody can play it. It had never actually had an at-home release prior to this outside of, I think, exactly an arcade one-up machine. And of course, everybody knows those aren't really that easily acquirable. But now anybody with a modern console or computer with a Steam account, they've got it. And that's why I put it on here, was on Steam. It was a great choice for them to be able to include this, and I'm so glad they did. this would be excellent to have in any marathon, I think. I think that to go along with that, having the character donation incentive is also choice. Nick Fury has some subtle differences, both in terms of positive and negatives. So I would absolutely have no problem submitting with both characters, or submitting to have a donation bid war for both characters, being that they're so similar. The shot of the enemies running through is just so cool. Yeah, this game's phenomenal. Just very much a Capcom hidden gem. Got the 800-pound Kingpin walking his way back through. And of course the knife guy, the most dangerous enemy in the game, has to be there at the end. They knew what they were doing. I see you, Capcom. Just right on the money. Got so excited about the PB, I almost didn't put in my initials, so just dropped in the numbers. Anyway, yeah, that's the Punisher. As mentioned, this submission is going to be for original hardware, using this, probably can't see it, it's this blue PCB right across the room on that table, right there next to the television. That is a CPS2 Darksoft mod, which has every CPS2 and CPS Dash game on it, including this one. Plays like a dream. But for the recording of the submission, it was easier to show it on the collection, and I can offer the collection as a backup, or if you guys think it would be easier. But anyway, thank you so much for watching that run. I love this game. I would love to see it on the big stage, and you've got the character donation incentive going for you as well. So, till next time, LRock617 signing off. Take care.